Hey guys, welcome to Brief Recapped.
Today, I am going to explain a science fiction and drama movie called Perfect Sense. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Susan is a scientist in Scotland. She's an epidemiologist who is responsible for figuring out the causes of diseases. One day, her boss, Stephen, takes her to meet a patient. Apparently, he has lost the sensation of smell. I would say he has the 2020 pandemic, but this movie is way too old for that. Anyways, Stephen tells Susan that there have been similar cases all over Scotland and the world. However, none of the victims ever came in contact with each other, and there are no similarities in their daily habits to suggest a pattern. Elsewhere, Michael is the head chef, is a pretty popular and busy restaurant. One day, as he's coming out to dispose of some garbage, he sees Susan who lives next door. He asks for a cigarette, which she throws at him. Michael is immediately infatuated by Susan, and tries to make small talk. However, Susan shuts him down in the window. Back at her office, Susan confirms to Stephen that there have not been any clear symptoms and patterns with any of the victims. Then a woman starts narrating that the first symptoms of this strange disease are not actually the loss of smell, but a sudden attack of sadness and grief. People suddenly remember all their lost ones, mistakes made, guilt, and everything sad. It comes upon them all at once. After that, they lose their sense of smell. Because of this new and mysterious phenomenon, businesses like Michael's restaurant are taking a hit. People hardly come to them when they can barely smell the food. Michael's coworker, James, does not let this get to him and tries to lift everyone's mood. One day, Michael and Susan get into a conversation again. He invites her to the now empty restaurant and offers to cook for her. Susan accepts the offer. Michael prepares a dish for Susan which she really likes. As she starts enjoying the food, she starts thinking about her deceased father. Suddenly, she starts weeping like a little child. The symptom of the unknown disease. Michael calms her down and takes her back to her apartment, where she continues sobbing uncontrollably. He finally manages to put her in bed, but then, he too starts crying, overcome with sudden grief. Susan turns around and hugs him, and they cry together. The next morning, Susan and Michael realize that their sense of smell is gone. Michael is embarrassed by what happened last night, so he leaves awkwardly. He and his team are suffering from the loss of customers. So, they start cooking with more spices, salt, sours, sugar, more everything. The female narrator says that smell and memories are closely connected. When we lose certain smells, we also start losing the memories associated with them. One day, Michael invites Susan out for a walk. They walk around town and come to a woman putting on a show. She's using musical cues to make people remember tidbits of the smells that they once could smell. Later, they go home and make love. After they do their business, Susan says that she wants some alone time. So, Michael decides to give her space and leaves. He goes to the grave of someone from his past. There, he meets an old couple just returning. They recognize Michael and scold him for not bringing a bouquet. The female narrator says that this whole situation is starting to become political and religious, full of conspiracy theories. Countries are blaming each other, and religious groups are blaming each other. No one knows who or what is causing this. One day, Susan finds Stephen getting all hysterical and scared. He starts panicking, so they give him a sedative to calm him down. Later, as she's in the parking lot, Susan also starts getting filled with terror. Elsewhere, Michael is also facing the same thing. He starts saying that they will all die. James tries to calm him down. However, he too starts getting hysterical immediately. Terror changes to hunger, and the people start eating everything in their sights. Whether it's cooked, raw, live, or non-edible. They just eat it. Everyone, all around the world. They just can't stop themselves. Soon after, they stop and are hit with the realization of what they are doing. Everyone is filled with disgust at themselves. Immediately after, they lose the sense of taste. One day, Michael and Susan meet up and make love. Susan says that the smell and taste systems are connected, so this was to be expected. However, she's not sure if they will lose their other senses or not. Later, Michael goes to the restaurant. His boss does not want to continue the restaurant, as it's all useless now. But, Michael does not believe in that, and wants to continue their work, at least for the ambience of it all. Things start returning to normal, people adapt. Taste and smell have become a distant memory, and other senses have taken priority. People come back to the restaurants for the ambience and the experience. Even food critics are adapting, focusing on the crunchiness, consistency, and temperature of the food, instead of the taste. One day, Michael and Susan are bathing each other. They get kinky and start eating the shaving cream and soap. After that, they drink alcohol, get drunk, and dance. Susan and Michael then play a game, where they tell each other secrets about themselves. Secrets that no one else knows. Susan admits that she hates her sister's children, because she herself can't have children. She's sterile. Michael admits that he had a fiancée once. But she got sick and instead of taking care of her, he ran away. His fiancée died and now, he goes to her grave sometimes, out of pure guilt. Susan is just happy that they are equally messed up, and they grow even closer. One day, new developments arise. A scientist from Thailand informs them that people are now starting to show symptoms of rage and anger. After that, they lose their hearing. When the Scottish scientists try to talk to her, the Thai scientist does not hear them. Instead, she gets angry at them for no reason. Soon after, violent attacks start breaking out in different parts of the world. Everyone is filled with rage and hatred. The unaffected people can only wait and do nothing more. Back at Susan's apartment, they have just finished making love, after which Michael takes a Polaroid picture of them. One day, Susan gets information that a child in Berlin was born with all their senses intact. They hope to get antibodies from it. Back at the restaurant, Michael and his boss find out that the government is shutting down many institutions, including their restaurant. The city wants them to cook basic food for the quarantined people. People have now started to wear masks, and this is pretty much the 2020 pandemic. The apartment where Susan lives has been put in quarantine because the people there have been infected. So, Michael invites her to live with him. As they are driving to his place, they are greeted with the sounds of aggression and people shouting all over the city. They finally reach Michael's place and start settling in. Suddenly, Michael starts yelling at her, saying that she's useless. He says that she's here just to make love, and there's nothing special about her. He then starts smashing things all around the house. Susan is extremely terrified and she leaves. After some time, Michael recovers from his episode of rage. He has now lost his hearing. He tries to go to Susan to apologize, but the pandemic workers force him to stay at home and wait for the government to bring him food. Meanwhile, Susan goes to her office. She finds Stephen there, but he seems to have lost his hearing too, as he walks away without talking much. Elsewhere, Michael gets his regular portion of food. However, he does not want any of it. He then calls Susan and apologizes, saying that it was the fault of the disease. Susan throws the phone away. She also starts getting angry at this invisible disease that is ruining their lives and their world. Michael, meanwhile, is continuously talking on the phone, without realizing that Susan is not listening to him, and is busy renovating her office. The government starts sending messages to the deaf people through the TV, asking them to stay at home and they will be kept informed. Sometime later, Susan wakes up from her fit of rage. As expected, she too has lost her hearing. Susan is terrified and runs away. Elsewhere, Michael steps out of his house, and no one stops him. He notices a health worker's mask has been broken and is bloody. He goes straight to Susan's apartment, but she's not there. He goes to the restaurant, but the place is in shambles. He does find his boss there, and he too has lost his hearing. Susan chooses to live with her sister, Jenny. Jenny asks about her new boyfriend, but Susan does not even want to think about him. Jenny makes a joke and they laugh about it. The female narrator says that there have been two types of people. The first type does not care about anything, and is taking advantage by stealing whatever they can. The second type is going on about their lives normally, and doing their duties, hoping that it will go back to normal. Michael and James continue their work in the restaurant. Michael is no longer as excited about his work, but James has managed to find meaning in it. The people who come there can also be seen adapting, by using other means to communicate. Michael constantly tries to get in contact with Susan, but Susan has not come back to her apartment in a long while. People have started to live their new lives. They have found themselves needing and loving each other more. They are reaching out to each other more. They are happy, they are overwhelmed with the warm and fuzzy sensation called love. Susan also feels this, so she goes to Michael's restaurant. Michael arrives just then and sees Susan's car. Thinking that Susan is in her apartment, he rushes there. Meanwhile, Susan cannot find Michael in his restaurant, so she goes back to her car. Michael calls her from above, but she can't hear him. So, he rushes down. But, she has already left. Michael starts getting sad, but then, Susan comes back. She steps out, smiling at him. He smiles back. And slowly, they walk towards each other. But suddenly, their sights and images grow hazy. Just as they reach each other, They lose their eyesight. It's dark now. But they have found each other, they are in each other's arms, and they're just happy to be there. Now imagine if that was the endgame for the 2020 pandemic. It's highly unlikely, but the thought is unsettling. Better watch as many movies as you can. For more movies recapped, just click on one of the videos on your screen. Or, subscribe for more videos like this.